Hello and welcome to this major update where we'll be tearing down the entire city and rebuilding it. But even better, this is going to be spectacular, so let's jump right in. As you know, I'll be completely redesigning and expanding my Lego city with even more amazing builds. After a lot of brainstorming, these are my plans for the new city layout. If you're standing at the short side of the table on the right, the train station will be in front on the right-hand side. The market square with the restaurant will be placed behind the station, just like in the old city. Behind that, there will be a road with the shopping center running parallel to it. The hospital will stay in the same corner, but we'll move it 16 studs closer to the tracks to create space for additional parking. By moving the train station to the right side of the table, we're creating space on the left for a massive new project. At the front of the city, we'll place only old buildings and beautiful, detailed classic homes. The roads and train network will stay in the same general layout, but they will need some adjustments due to the new building arrangement. At the back of the city, we'll have only skyscrapers. This will be a business center with only tall buildings. The idea is to build the city from low to high so that all the buildings are clearly visible. In the back left corner, I've planned space for a factory and a large distribution center. To make this plan a reality, there's a lot of work to be done, so let's get started. We're taking down the buildings one by one. It's relatively easy because each structure is built modularly, making them simple to remove and later place back into the city. However, it still takes a lot of time to disconnect all the constructions. Some buildings, like the hospital and hotel, are connected to the surrounding area and the tracks, as they are corner structures. To make the most of the space in the new city, I'm going to try and incorporate these two buildings back into the corners. This saves a lot of time and energy, which we can use for new constructions and improving existing buildings. Even though everything is built modularly, experience shows that many things still need to be rebuilt. For example, I had to completely redesign the landscape around the hospital to properly connect the roads and create extra parking spaces. It's a lot of work, but I've decided that from now on, I'll only build structures that meet 100% of my standards. The city is about to undergo a major upgrade. Later in the video, you'll see a great example of how I plan to achieve that, so stay tuned. Reorganizing the city is a huge project, and it feels like starting over. It took me 6 months to get to the current result, and I expect this new plan will take just as long before I reach my final goal. The great thing about this is that you've got plenty of fun content to look forward to. I plan to focus more on the details of the buildings. The city should be as realistic as possible, just like in real life. That's why I'll also be paying more attention to the interiors of the buildings. I've noticed people appreciate this, and I personally believe it's an important part of building a Lego city. We're removing the last buildings and will soon start building the new layout. You won't want to miss it, so stay tuned. Now that all the buildings have been removed from the table, you can really see how many structures made up the entire city. Pretty cool to see everything in a different setting, right? It's amazing to see how much you can build in just 6 months. When everything is set up together like this, it gives you a chance to creatively think about the new location for each building. Where should we place them for the best visual effect? Even the empty table gives a satisfying feeling. We can start fresh and create an entirely new city. How exciting is that? All that empty space ready for new Lego projects to take shape. We take one last look at all the city's elements, like the cars, streetlights, and of course, the traffic signs and trees. Since we still have a lot to do, let's quickly move on to building the foundation of the new city. Since I've chosen a new layout for the base plates, all the corner structures also need to be transferred onto new 48 by 48 stud base plates. It's a big task, but definitely worth the effort to optimize the placement of the tracks, but more on that later. Now, let's continue with the hospital area. We moved the hospital 16 studs forward and 12 studs closer to the tracks. This way, we create space for extra parking spots. I've also made more room for the ambulances, which need to have quick access to bring patients to the hospital as fast as possible. The parking lot road must connect well to the main road that runs next to the hospital. Between the intersection of both roads, I've added a pedestrian path to allow people to cross safely. At real hospitals, this is always well organized because many patients aren't very mobile and need to cross safely. We place the road in its position and press it down firmly to make sure everything aligns perfectly. Next, we park a custom-designed Mercedes G63 AMG wagon and 2 ambulances in the parking spots. Now you can see how easily the ambulance can leave the parking lot and merge onto the main road. In the old layout, this area was much tighter and less realistic. I've made all the parking spaces a bit wider and longer to make it more true to life. Everything in the new city has to be based on real life, so the proportions need to be accurate. That said, I believe it's not always possible to build 100% realistically with Lego. The proportions can be accurate, but it's unrealistic to build hundreds of homes like in a real city. We've now finished the back section of the hospital. I'm also planning to create parking spaces at the front, but that's a project for later. I want to build the city from the front and work my way toward the back. So we'll place the market square behind the station and behind that, the restaurant, which is located in an old building. As I mentioned earlier, the front of the city will consist only of old buildings made with lots of detail, including masonry bricks, like the station and the restaurant. We'll go ahead and place the hotel garden in its position since the construction will remain the same, and then we'll lay down the final section of the track. The foundation of the new city is now set. Isn't this already a big improvement compared to the old design? You can now really see how the city is shaping up and how much space there is for new constructions. It's exciting to imagine all the things I can build there. Next, we'll continue by building a new road that runs parallel to the track. By placing the road behind the track on the new table, we've created more space for the central part of the city. By freeing up larger areas for buildings, you get more of a city feel when walking between the tall structures. In this new design, I want the buildings to be less interrupted by wide roads that take up valuable space. Now that the pedestrian path is in place, we can see how the road looks. Although I wasn't entirely dissatisfied with it, I've decided to make some adjustments. As I mentioned earlier, this time I want to replicate everything down to the smallest detail, and that includes the roads. I filled in the final part of the road with a dark gray color, as this is visible from the side of the table. We attach the road surface to the dark gray bricks and press everything down firmly to ensure it aligns nicely with the rest of the structures. Not bad, right? I also added a white dividing line, just like the other roads in the city. You see this on all major roads in the real world. So the same applies in the new city. We press everything down firmly to ensure all parts of the road fit together nicely. Then, we make sure the sides are neatly finished with tiles. This makes the overall effect so much more realistic. I think it's important to finish everything with tiles. After all, you don't see any studs in the real world either, right? We connect both parts of the city with 2x4 stud tiles and extend the sides of the road all the way to the end of the table. Next, we place the white dividing line on the other side of the road and reattach the pedestrian path. In my new city, I wanted a roadway running alongside the tracks where the tram operates. In large cities, you often see cars driving parallel to the tram or even sharing the same surface. The tram tracks are designed to allow cars to drive over them as well. To achieve this, both the road and the tracks had to be positioned at exactly the same height next to each other. I'm really glad I decided to adjust the road because the effect is clearly much better than it was before. Looks a lot better, don't you think? Now we move on to the first new building in the city. Next to the station, we're adding a parking lot so that both travelers and market visitors have a place to park. Have you ever seen a station without a parking lot? We're placing the plates with a plan in mind. On the track side, we're using only dark gray plates to match the color of the tracks. It gives a nice effect, don't you think? I plan to finish all the corners of the city this way. It takes a lot of bricks and time to finish the corners this way, but again, it's more than worth it. We continue by placing the side road that brings cars from the main road to the station. Through this build, I realized that I'll need a lot more bricks for the new city. A whole lot. So, I went to my local Lego store and filled 9 large boxes with bricks from the pick-a-brick wall. I knew exactly which bricks I needed and took one of each to ask the staff to get more from the back if they weren't available on the wall. I go to the Lego store so often now that they recognize me and are happy to help me find the pieces I'm looking for. I'm going to build all the buildings 100% modular so that they can be easily removed without pulling the plates off the base plates. For this, I need a huge amount of new tiles and plates. The plates will form the base of the buildings and will sit on smooth tiles with only a few connection points. This building method will allow me to easily move the buildings in the future if needed. Once I got back from the Lego store, it was time to unpack all 9 boxes and sort the bricks into bags. Let's take a look at what we got. I filled 5 boxes with white 6x6 stud and light gray 4x4 stud plates. Many buildings will use these colors as the base, so the upper floors will also need to be made in the same colors. You can see why I needed so many of these plates. I filled the rest of the boxes mostly with white 1x2 stud, white 1x3 stud, and dark gray 2x2 stud bricks. The dark gray color fits nicely with the roads and will also be great for building a new skyscraper in the future. I haven't designed a building with this color as the base yet. I stacked the plates on top of each other but left a 1 stud gap between them, so they're easier to separate later. This saves me a lot of frustration and, of course, time. Time is money, right? Without the pick-a-brick wall at my local Lego store, it wouldn't have been possible to achieve this result and build the city to what it is now. This method of stacking bricks saves so much on costs. This time, I spent €180 for 9 large boxes, which would have cost me over $800 if I had ordered them online. Unfortunately, the cost of the pick-a-brick wall isn't the only expense I have when building this city. I regularly place orders on Lego.com or Bricklink to get the right pieces for my builds. Lego is a fun hobby, but the result is more than worth it. Bringing the city of your dreams to life gives me an incredible thrill and the motivation to keep building. Of course, I could really use your help in building this massive Lego city. The easiest way to support me is by liking this video and subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. And you'll definitely want to subscribe because some amazing builds are coming that you won't want to miss. You can also help by sharing the video with your friends so the channel can reach a larger audience, and more people can enjoy watching how the city develops. Let's continue unpacking all 9 boxes. Personally, I find looking at such a large amount of bricks very satisfying. Great visuals, right? Besides using the pick-a-brick wall, I also placed several orders on Lego.com and Bricklink. As you can see in the footage, I ordered 500 light gray bricks with knobs. I'll be using these to build a large number of old houses by placing tiles on the knobs on the exterior walls, which gives the buildings a fantastic look. More on that later. These will be modular houses, fully furnished inside, just like real homes. The houses will have 3 floors and be topped with beautiful sloped roofs. These old buildings will be made with a lot of detail, so this will be a time-consuming project. But as always, I'll keep you updated on every step of the development. Now that all the boxes are unpacked and sorted, we can really see just how many Lego bricks there are. Definitely enough to move forward with the first major build in the new city. At the front of the city will be the old district, featuring only historic buildings. This is a new building style for me, but it's fun to create and develop new construction techniques. These old houses will be placed to the left of the station, at the front of the city. I'm setting down plates in this area and outlining the shape of the 4 large residential complexes so you can see exactly where the buildings will be. More on this in my next update. Curious to see how I built the old city from start to finish? Check out this spectacular time-lapse of 6 months of building. You don't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next update.